Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Want to give you another episode today in our How to Survive series. This is something that I'm trying to add to the channel just to kind of help you along the way of ideas of different situations that you might come across, especially with all the stuff that's happening now. And know that, when I do these videos, this isn't it's not a complete, absolute list of how to do things or a way of how to do it, because, well, it's kind of impossible to do that usually in a 15-minute video. But today we want to talk about how to survive the coming collapse. Again, not a complete list, but these are some tips that you can use along the way. And this isn't focusing so much on the standard prepper, stack beans and cans and food and bullets and Band-Aids. You should be doing that already. You should have been doing that for quite a while. These are some tips to kind of get you ready, things that you can be doing between now and then. You've been prepping, you've been getting yourself ready, working on your self-sufficient lifestyle, and then these are some things that you can kind of focus on between now and then. To kind of help you get to a place where you'll be better off once the collapse happens. All right, so let's just get on into this. Number one, and this one I know some people may disagree with this, but I would be keeping less money in the bank. Everyone's different. You all know your own situation. I would personally only keep just enough money in the bank to cover the bills that I would be paying out of that bank. I would start doing my best to switch to keeping the cash on hand. And I understand that at some point that cash is probably not going to be worth anything, but it will have value to you and be useful. You'll be able to use it longer if it's in your hand versus it being in the bank, where it could easily be, you could be locked out of that. So I would start keeping less money in the bank. That's, it's going to be different for everyone. What does that mean? Like I said, you know how much money you spend. Look at your bills. If you're using a lot of debit card purchases, which is what most people do, maybe you should switch over to not using that as much and using more cash. Downsize now, sell items that you don't need. Downsizing, that is, you're going to have to downsize eventually. I mean, that's just how it is. And if you've got, a extra vehicle that you've been thinking about, I probably should sell that. We don't really use it anything. It's just an extra vehicle, or maybe a recreational type vehicle, a boat or something, or you have computers or TVs or other electronics, or just items that are they're just kind of extra, they're luxurious. It's nice to have, but you don't need them, and that it probably is something you could get rid of and use the money elsewhere. I would advise getting rid of that soon, because as things worsen, people are going to be less likely to buy that kind of stuff. More and more people are going to realize that I need to start putting my money in things of real value and not in a boat or another TV or something like that. So I would start getting rid of that stuff as soon as possible. And this next one, it goes right along with it. Learn to live on less. You're going to have to live on less eventually anyways. So learn to do it now. Learn to do it now where you're not under all the other emotional, psychological pressures of a collapse. If you've already trained yourself to learn to live on less, once that happens, that's one less thing that you're stressing over. That's one less thing that it's making that situation difficult. So learn to live on less. And it's amazing how much less you need, to live on. Americans have bought into this lie that we need a lot of stuff to be happy. We need lots and lots of stuff to live a comfortable, easy life. We need a huge house. I can remember growing up as a kid, the average person's house was 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-2-bath, and probably somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300 square foot. That was kind of average, work and family home. Now the average work and family home is, 2,000, 3,000 square foot. Of course, the price has gone up. Everyone has 2 cars. Some people have 3 vehicles. Some people have more. Learn to live on less. Because if you can do that now, it's going to make living in a collapse way, way easier. Convert your extra money into actual commodities and metals. Now, this is something, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take what I say as financial advice. But if I just had a lot of cash on hand, whether it's in the bank or sitting in a vault or something like that, or maybe not even cash, maybe investments in certain things, I would be thinking long and hard about, what's going to happen to all that money in a crash? Is it going to lose its value in stocks, or are those stocks going to collapse, and all this wealth that I thought that I had, now I don't? What's going to happen with all this cash that I have in the bank or on hand? What if the dollar starts losing its value rapidly? Will I be able to dump all that cash and get the things that I need fast enough before it loses its value? Maybe not. Sometimes, and I think we're at that point, that our investments shouldn't be based on increasing our wealth, but increasing our survivability. And so taking money that you may have in some type of, savings account or just an investment setting there, and converting it into food or to ammunition or to, the equipment that you need to actually survive, water, filtration, things like that, might be the better idea. Again, I'm not giving you advice. That's something you're going to have to decide on your own, but it's certainly something to think about. This is a big one, and you probably don't have a whole lot of time left to do this, but every little bit probably can help, is get out of debt of certain things. And what I mean by that, if your home is your bug out location, it'd be good if you could to get out of debt. If you can sell that home and turn around and buy something smaller, downsize, and pay cash for it or nearly pay cash for it, that's a good thing too. I know this is an iffy one. A lot of people say it's not going to matter, and they're quite possibly correct. But if we look back at other times that our own economy and other economies collapsed, and I know we're dealing with more than just an economic collapse, but the big banks, the big companies, they still existed, and they still came and they still collected on you and took your home. So that's probably one of the hard ones right now for a lot of people, is determining what to do about their home. If that's their bug out location, or if that's where they're going to live and survive, and you can't pay for it anymore, and it's in the midst of a collapse, don't think that these banks don't have means to form their own police agencies, their own organizations, to come in and take you off your property. I have no doubt that they will still be in power. The big banking companies and organizations will still be in power during a big collapse. Master a skill that can be used for bartering. And I'm not necessarily talking about learning something brand new. You may not have enough time for that. But if you already are pretty good at something, it's a hobby, it's something you do, you fix you're tinkerer maybe. Maybe you're pretty good at fixing the appliances around your own home and working on little things. Get really good at it, because something like that could be a very good skill that you could use for bartering. So try to think of, if you're good at sewing, mending, crocheting, really work on perfecting that skill as much as possible so that you can use it as a means to barter in the future. Have contacts for loved ones and maps to get around. And what I mean by that, depending on how the collapse goes, there may be an electric grid collapse. There very easily could be a cellular grid collapse, meaning that towers don't work. Most people don't even know others' phone numbers. Do you know your kid's phone number by heart? Do you know your parents' phone number by heart? Do you know your neighbors, the people in your tribe, your crew, your mag? Do you know their numbers by heart? Probably not. It's probably just saved on your phone, and you just click on it and it dials it. What's going to happen if you can't do that? Maybe that phone doesn't work. And do you know how to get in contact with them? Maybe not necessarily have just their phone numbers, but where they live. A lot of people, it amazes me, they can kind of remember how to get there if they go the same way all the time, but a lot of people don't even know the addresses of people. They use the GPS, and they may not even remember addresses. Have maps to get around, and have contact information on all the people that you know, because you also have to factor in that in the midst of a collapse, our stress levels are going to be much more heightened, and it's going to be harder for us to remember things. So that's another important thing, is to have things written down that are important. And then last but not least, print documents, books. Everything's digital now. And that's great and convenient, isn't it? But it's going to really stink when everything comes crashing down and you can't access the cloud where you've saved all kinds of important documents or all kinds of PDF books on how to do stuff, and you can't get to it. Print the stuff off, have hard copies of it, and make sure you have plenty of books on how to do the things that you need to do. Medical books, how to repair, repair manuals. I've talked about this several times. I've made lots of videos in the past on this very subject. And it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to get bit in the hind end because they didn't think about it. They have all these, lots and lots of gigabytes of PDFs and all this literature and how to do this and how to do that. And it's all saved on this cloud account. And then that all no longer exists. What are you going to do then? Make sure you have hard copies of stuff, documents, PDF files that you plan to use, and then also have actual books. And the books aren't that hard to find. You can obviously order them through all the normal means, but we get a lot of really good books that are helpful, especially for survival purposes, at local bookstores, used bookstores, thrift stores, things like Goodwill, secondhand stores. You can find a lot of stuff like that, and usually at those kind of places, you can get them for just, a little bit of change, and you can come up with a pretty good library. So these are some of the things that you can do to get yourself a little bit more prepared to survive the coming collapse. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.